Is up, Packer fans? Back again. It is week, 12? The Packers back at Lambeau against the Minnesota Vikings. It is the 4-6 Vikings coming to town, the fourth team in the division. Bears on top. Sucks saying that. The Bears still suck. Then the Packers at 6-3-1 with that tie. 6-4 are the Lions, and then 4-6 are the Vikings. But the Vikings still have Brian Flores as the defensive coordinator. He's a guy that can dial some things up, and they do have a lot of playmakers on that defense. The Vikings offense has regressed, though, however. Sam Darnold went to Seattle. They're playing very well out there on the West Coast, and J.J. McCarthy came in as the starter this year. He's been up and down, kind of some good games, some bad games. He got injured. I know Carson Wentz played a little bit. I think he's out for the season, but McCarthy is back in. And the Vikings continue to lose, and they are coming off a bye week. So we have the Eagles coming off a bye. Now we have the Vikings coming off a bye, and they're 4-6. Obviously, still kind of in the hunt, and definitely gonna want to get the win against this Green Bay team that's riding high now, coming off a big W against those Giants. Giants 2-8 or 2-9 now, and the Packers 6-3-1. The Packers have 5 games in the division through the next 7 games. The only games remaining this season that aren't division games are the Broncos and the Ravens. I think we go to Denver, and I think we have the Ravens at Lambeau. But 5 out of the 7 in the division. We have the Vikings, Lions, Bears. Lions on Thanksgiving. And then I think it's Denver, and then Bears, and then the Ravens. And then I think we finished with the Vikings, something like that. So the Packers definitely, obviously, have to continue this winning streak. One game is a streak. So, and saving LaFleur's job, I really think he would have gotten fired if the Packers didn't win this game against the Giants. So now that they're 6-3-1, second place in the division, the Bears just haven't played anybody yet. They do have the Packers twice coming up. They have a tough schedule ahead of them, and so I don't think the Bears will be at the top much longer. Green Bay and the Lions will probably be fighting it out for the division. But for the Packers, Josh Jacobs went out with that knee injury. It's not as severe as I initially heard. It was a PCL. It's not that, just a contusion. Basically just bruised it really bad. That MetLife field sucks. It's just concrete underneath a little layer of grass. So he just hit the ground hard and it bruised it up. So Jacobs is tough. They'll see how he can kind of bounce back this week, see if the swelling can go down. It is a tough spot to kind of have that swelling, and hopefully it gets limited in the next couple of days. See if he can get out there. Otherwise, Emmanuel Wilson will get the start for Green Bay at running back. I look for him to have a big game if he does play. Josh Jacobs will try to go, I'm sure. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to play the whole game or how the game will go, but I know Jacobs will do everything he can to get out there. So for the Packers, obviously, tight end, Tucker Kraft, not out there. He's out for the season. But Musgraves came in last week. He had a drop ball, a ball that he caught, and then it fumbled and went out of bounds. And then he didn't play the second half. So I look for him to come back, step up, be that tight end number 1. We really need him in the absence of Kraft. And it's just going to be tough if he can't kind of perform the way we think he can and the way the team needs him to. So watch for that. Packers offensive line, I know Alcon Jenkins is out, but Sean Ryan did play really well. Rasheed Walker playing pretty good at left tackle. Not a lot of issues coming off that left side. And then Aaron Banks playing better. I know he was injured. Maybe some of that kind of attributed to his kind of sluggish start, but he's playing better. Sean Ryan playing great at center, like I said. And then Jordan Morgan at right guard, playing good at right guard. We saw a play where they just kind of let Dexter Lawrence go, and that was him. They were supposed to double team him, and they let him go in the Giants game, and he was the first guy that was supposed to kind of lock up and then get that second guy there, but nobody blocked him, so big issue there. So clean that up. Zach Tom playing good at right tackle. But for Green Bay, this Vikings team is, obviously 4-6. They're going to need a win. Coming off a loss against the Ravens a few weeks ago, then the bye week, kind of regroup, refresh. Justin Jefferson's numbers are down, way down. I think he's like 50 yards a game less than his average. Something like that. I think it's some crazy stat like that. So for J.J. McCarthy against this Packers defense, can they do anything? Can he move the ball? He calls himself 9 when his alter ego comes out and he really starts to play well. We haven't seen a lot of that out of him this season. I really think the Vikings should have just kept Sam Darnold. paid him a few seasons, let McCarthy sit for a little while, do what the Packers did, give him a year, at least the 2 years or 3 years, more than a year. And but McCarthy just, still progressing. We'll see what he can do. But obviously, at running back, Aaron Jones, one of the all-time great Packers, coming back to Lambeau, number 33, Showtime. So he's kind of, been injured here and there throughout the season. Last season, too, his numbers aren't amazing. He's been part of the offense, did score a touchdown against the Ravens. But they used Jordan Mason as kind of the bell cow back, the power back, the guy that gets most of the bulk of the carries, and then kind of use Jones out of the backfield and then some of that scat back stuff outside. So we'll see, kind of a complimentary running back team. This defense for the Packers really needs to step up. They struggled against the Panthers. They did really good against the Eagles, and and Saquon Barkley and that offensive line and that running back. And then against the Giants, they give up a bunch of rushing yards to Singletary and 2 touchdowns to Singletary and a bunch of rushing yards to Tracy. So just, I don't really understand. Some weeks we can stop the run. Rico Dowdle, like I said, the Panthers ran it down our throats. So, and then we stop Saquon and then Tracy runs it down our throats. So kind of weird. What Packers defensive line, what Packers run defense are we going to get? Pass defense still playing pretty good, but we'll get to that. So then at receiver for the Vikings, obviously Justin Jefferson, all-pro, all-star. His numbers are down, like I was saying. And then Jordan Addison's back from his absence earlier in the season. He's a guy that's kind of developing with J.J. McCarthy. But the guy that really, really seems to be excelling with J.J. is Jalen Naylor, the third receiver for the Vikings. He's a guy whose numbers are way up. And then they did trade. This is a very Vikings thing to do. Get rid of Adam Thielen and then trade to get him back. Trade picks to get him back after I think they let him go in free agency. So kind of a funny thing to do. But Adam Thielen, a little bit aged, but he's a guy that's out there, wide receiver 4. And then at tight end, TJ Hawkinson, he's a guy that was Pro Bowler a few years ago, a guy that can really play well at that tight end position. They have Josh Oliver, another receiving threat at tight end. So the Vikings do have, obviously, playmakers at the skill positions. It just comes down to, can J.J. McCarthy get them the ball? And then at fullback, obviously, is C.J. Ham, a guy that's been to the Pro Bowl a lot as a fullback. Their offensive line is pretty good. Donovan Jackson at left guard, a guy I know. O'Neal at right tackle. Then they have Darisaw at left tackle. And then center is Jurgens. So they do have some playmakers on the outside at receiver, at tight end, at running back, and then they have a decent offensive line. Again, it just comes down to what J.J. McCarthy can do. For the Packers on defense against this offense, Micah Parsons coming off of 1.5 sacks against the Giants. Rashawn Gary got that fumble recovery. Isaiah McDuffie got the other half a sack. Packers defense is going to look to step up against this Vikings offense. McCarthy threw 2 picks against the Ravens, so Packers hopefully can keep these turnovers going. They got 2 very late in the game against the Giants, but they finally got them. The strip sack recovery and the interception by Evan Williams. So I look for some more playmaking up front. Gary, Parsons, hopefully Lucas Van Ness will be good to go this week. He should be. He was very close last week, and I think he's going to be good to go this week against the Vikings. Good to see. Devontae Wyatt's back out there. Colby Wooden's playing well. Carl Brooks is playing pretty good. So the defensive front's playing well. Just which run defense is going to show up against this Vikings running game. Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones can both run the ball well. Obviously, we all know Jones. And then at linebacker, Edgerrin Cooper still playing great. Quay Walker playing really good. He did get a stinger. I think he should be okay, but we'll watch that. McDuffie played really well in his absence, and Teron Hopper played the most snaps he has on defense, and he came in and played really well. I look for him to keep kind of progressing. He's a guy that I like a lot. I look for him to kind of take over that McDuffie role. McDuff is just kind of such a vet and does everything the Packers ask. So hard to take him out when you got a young guy that's still kind of raw. But for the Packers defense, at safety, Evan Williams got the interception last week, his second of the season. It is his second. Xavier McKinney, still playing well on the back end. I like to see him kind of come up with some more on that in that safety position. And then at corner, Carrington Valentine playing great on the outside. Keyshawn Nixon playing well. Nate Hobbs should be back this week. I thought he was going to play last week. I called for him to have a breakout game finally. I didn't know he was going to be so injured, but we'll see what happens with him. I'd like to see him back. Kind of a bust right now for the Packers and Gutekunst and bringing him over from the Raiders. But he's a guy that played really well for the Raiders. I think he's a guy that can still, make some progress. Not sure what the issues are, if he's injured or if it's just the change of scenery or what's going on with him. But hopefully he can get back in the fold and kind of help this team. And then Javon Bullard. I mean, he's a guy that just keeps excelling. His man coverage rate is like top 10 in the league for cover corners, so really kind of progressing in that area as well. And then his tackling is great also. So I like what this Packers team is doing on the back end and kind of how they're clicking on defense. The Giants did score 20 points, but again, the Packers scored 27, and they get the win. So scoring points in this league is the key to the game. The defense playing just well enough to hold them to 20. That's great, but obviously the Packers need to score more and stop them more on defense. The Giants just kept going. I hope that the Packers can get off the field against this Vikings team, because this Vikings team does have a lot of weapons. Like I was talking about, Justin Jefferson can break the game open at any time. Addison has that playmaking ability as well. We all know Aaron Jones does as well, and Hawkinson's a heck of a tight end. So for the Packers on defense, it's going to be how do you line up and how can we stop the run and get after J.J. McCarthy. I think we can make it a long day for McCarthy, especially at Lambeau Field. Packers definitely need to get after him. I think Parsons, Gary, if we get Lucas Van Ness back, it could be really good for this Packers defense. And, McCarthy, I don't think he hasn't played at Lambeau. So big game for him and big game for this Packers team. Keep it going, kind of keep pace with the Bears until we get to play them after Thanksgiving, and then obviously keep up with the Lions in the division. It looks like some of the other teams in the West might be running away with the 1 seed or the East. So the East or the West might run away with the 1 seed, but getting into the playoffs, winning the division, really top priority for the Packers. And then on defense, this is where Brian Flores, obviously the Packers have gone up against him for years now. Jordan Love knows him. Aaron Rodgers knew him. Matt LaFleur knows him well. And Brian Flores' defenses are always difficult. They run a base 3-4 most of the time. They really have a lot of good weapons on the defensive side of the ball. Jonathan Allen they brought over from the Commanders. They have Jalen Redmond down on the inside. Javon Hargrave, he's a guy from the Niners who I really liked. He's kind of a big expense guy. They paid a lot to bring him over here to Minnesota. And he's a tough block in the middle there. And then on the outside, Jonathan Greenard, really good edge kind of rusher. Blake Cashman in the middle. They have Andrew Van Ginkel, who played for Wisconsin. He's a really great edge rusher as well. Kind of does it all on the outside. Kind of like a Clay Matthews hybrid almost, just with the hair. But anyway, and then one of their corners, Isaiah Rodgers, kind of the nickel corner, left corner. He's been having a great season, probably going to be a Pro Bowl, all-pro player this season if he kind of keeps going with what he's done. I remember he had 2 touchdowns in one game. Forgot which team they were playing against, but he's a playmaker for sure. Harrison Smith on the back end at safety. He's a guy that's been back there for a long time. A guy that really is good at that safety spot. A guy that the Packers know well. Byron Murphy at corner, and then Joshua Mentelis at the other safety. So just a lot of guys for this Vikings offense and this Vikings defense that will cause issues for the Packers if they don't do their assignments and block it up and get after them like they need to. So, yeah, Eric Wilson, another Packer, ex-Packer on this Vikings team that plays linebacker also. He should be getting the start. Ivan Pace kind of rotates with him. And Dallas Turner also comes in, a guy that they drafted high a few years ago. So a lot of playmakers on this Vikings offense, a lot of playmakers on this Vikings defense. The nickel corner also is Theo Jackson, a guy that can make some plays. So really a tough defense for this Packers team to go against. And without Josh Jacobs and this offensive line kind of, still figuring it out without Elkin Jenkins, Jordan Love is definitely going to have to step up and have another big game. He had 2 touchdowns, no picks. I know Malik came in and got the other touchdown. So there was 3 passing touchdowns against the Giants. Jordan Love's going to have to keep doing that. I want to see 4 out of him. I need a 4-touchdown game out of him. Do it against the Vikings at home, at Lambeau. Keep pace with the rest of the NFC. And then, obviously, if Josh Jacobs cannot go, Emmanuel Wilson, Chris Brooks, they played well. I really can't wait for Marshawn Lloyd to get back, but it sounds like it's not going to be this week. Don't think they opened up the 21-day window for his IR return yet. Same thing with Jaden Reed. Can't wait for him to get back. Seems like he might be ready for a week, 13 against the Lions next week, Thanksgiving. If he's going to be ready Thursday this week or next week, he'd be ready Sunday this week. So he should be out there this week. I really think that, he got hurt, week 2, and now it's week 12. That's a long time for a collarbone. Usually it's 6 to 8 weeks. It's like, what, 10 now? So something's got to give. He's got to get back on the field. Really excited to see Jaden Reed. But Marshawn Lloyd, hopefully he gets back kind of at the end of the season when the Packers need to start running the ball. Weather gets cold. We can bring out some fresh legs. Could be exciting for Green Bay. Get Lloyd out there. Give Jacobs a little bit of a break. Obviously, he's been fighting through a lot of injuries, every other week. New things happening in the now. A knee. Everybody thought he was done maybe for the season ender, and turns out he's not even technically ruled out for this week. So we'll see what happens with Jacobs. But then Emmanuel Wilson, Chris Brooks, for now, they all have to step up. Then at wide receiver, Romeo Doubs playing great. Christian Watson, big game last week, needs a little more yards, but 2 touchdowns on 4 catches, pretty great. The catches he had in the end zone were amazing. Dontavian Wicks needs to continue to start stepping up. Looks like he's going to be gone next year. Packers aren't going to pay him to stay, and his stats just aren't there. Kind of a bummer. I really like Wicks, and people compared Wicks to Devontae Adams in the past, but just not kind of progressing the way the Packers thought he would. And then Savion Williams, what a catch last week. Matthew Golden had 1 catch, he had 1 catch, but it was a big catch. Both of those rookies had big catches, 1 catch each. Both of them big time for Green Bay. And then, Malik Heath, I know he was upset, didn't get to come out for the Giants game. I think he was upset about Bo Melton being out there in the game against the Eagles. Kind of thought maybe he should have been the guy on 4th down to get those passes, and they threw it to the cornerback turned receiver. So I understood that, but obviously you got to just support the team, and bummer for Malik. But we'll see what happens. Maybe he'll be back out there for Green Bay this week against the Vikings. And then at tight end, like I said, the tight ends for Green Bay need to start stepping up. Fitzpatrick had a drop. Wiley had his first touchdown. He's 6'7". So this guy, if he can kind of keep progressing with Love, he could be a playmaker for Green Bay moving forward into the future this season. And then obviously Musgraves. LaFleur said that he didn't even know that he didn't play that much in the second half, and it wasn't really on purpose, and he definitely has to get him out there more. Seems like the head coach knows who's out there. And so, if you didn't have Tucker out there, if you didn't have Josh Jacobs out there, you'd know that. If you didn't have Watson out there, you'd know that. So to say that you didn't even know Musgraves wasn't out there, kind of a sign leaning towards Musgraves just isn't getting it and not progressing to the NFL game like we thought he would. Really a high draft pick for a tight end, 2nd-round pick out of Oregon State, and he's 6'6" and can run, but just has not translated to the NFL, like I said. So we'll see what happens at tight end, but I do like what Wiley brings and what Fitzpatrick can do if he can catch the ball. And then obviously getting Jaden Reed back will be a huge, huge help in that slot position, kind of take over some of that Tucker Kraft space in line. And so for Green Bay then, offensive line. Can we stop the pass rush of the Vikings and kind of the push up the middle? Allen on the outside and Hargrave in the middle. Kind of both of those guys can really create havoc for any offensive line. So Rasheed Walker, like I was saying, playing really well at left tackle. We'll see how Aaron Banks and Sean Ryan and Jordan Morgan can kind of fare in the middle. Those 3 are kind of the puzzle pieces that have been moving around a lot. Zach Tom was out for a little bit, but he's kind of the fixture on the right side. Rasheed Walker, the fixture on the left side. Those pieces in the middle have been moving. So we'll see if after another week of kind of playing together, Sean Ryan kind of got thrown in there when Jenkins got hurt against the Eagles. He had a whole week of practice with Love. There didn't seem to really be any issues with the center exchange. And now another week, they should be good to go. So Green Bay definitely has to get this division win. They're at Lambeau. I think it's noon. They play noon against the Vikings this week. Noon against the Vikings on Thanksgiving. Early game for all you Thanksgiving football lovers like I am. I thought it was later in the day. So go Pack go. I think this is going to be a good win for Green Bay. We're going to call a 34-20 2-touchdown win. Go Pack go. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Go Pack go again. Peace out. The Bears still suck.